Republicans and Democrats alike, that they feel that the power of the executive office in America is eroding the other branches to some extent, and things are getting out of whack.
Yeah, this isn't about the system. This is about Barack Obama. And look, I was in the White House when Joe was accusing us of having an imperial presidency, and you know who else did that? Senator Barack Obama. Senator Barack Obama said during the 2008 campaign that Bush was expanding his own powers and treating the Constitution like a nuisance, and that he wouldn't do it when he was in office. Well, now he's out. The irony is he's out there doing much more broadly the very thing that he accused George Bush of doing. I mean, perfect example: aid to Egypt. The law says very clearly that if there's a coup d'etat, you have to cut off aid. He's not doing it. His own law that he passed, Obamacare, there's no provision in there that allows him to suspend or delay the implementation of the employer mandate. He's doing it anyway. And another perfect example is recess appointments. You know, during the Bush administration, I remember being in meetings in the senior staff where it was discussed whether they could override, even if Congress was staying in session to prevent a recess appointment, whether the president could do it anyway because they were technically not in recess, and it was determined we couldn't do it. Barack Obama did it. So he's doing all sorts of things that George Bush didn't even contemplate doing when he was in office, and he's running roughshod over the Constitution after accusing Bush of doing the same.
And Dan, I want to bring you back in here because, of course, the Supreme Court's going to take up that issue of the NLRB recess appointments in its term that kicks off in October. In the meantime, we have the issue of federal regulations. EPA came up and some other organizations. We hear, I'm looking right now, this is the government's website, regulations.gov. It has, over the last 90 days, 6,471 proposed federal regulations. That's according to their listing. How does that work into this process of, you know, if you can't get it done on Capitol Hill, have a federal agency do it for you?
Well, exactly, Shannon. I mean, early in his first term, the president tried to put a cap-and-trade bill through Congress, but it didn't make it through, in large part because many Democratic senators from coal-using or coal-producing states would not support it. And now his new EPA administrator, Gina McCarthy, has just said publicly in the last few days the president has told her to snap to and get out there and start issuing regulations that will achieve the climate goals that he wanted to do in his first term. And she said, get over it, I'm going to do it. So again, I think there's a perfect example here of a president who is basically done with Congress and the congressional system and has decided to use what authority and powers he has to put in place laws that will affect the entire country. And my concern here, Shannon, is not merely with Barack Obama. This has always been a presidential temptation. And if he's able to get away with it, I'm afraid the successive presidents will, and we'll end up with a system very much different than the one we thought we created in 1789.
That's something that all Americans should keep an eye on, regardless of the party of the president. Joe, Dan, Mark, thank you all.
Good to be with you.
Thank you.
All right, technology.